Welcome to Future Focus, a financial strategies podcast where we make the complex simple. My name is Troy Branch. When we think about retirement, we think about oftentimes people think about retiring away from something. They think they're retiring to this endless vacation. But what they're actually retiring to, what they find out is they're retiring to a cash flow event. A cash flow event that they haven't prepared enough for, and that they have this question that needs to be answered. And we're going to ask that question today. 2 weeks after you retire, where's your paycheck coming from? Today I'm here. I'm joined here by my colleague Jacob Messick. It's your night today, buddy.
That's right. How's it going?
So you'll notice that it's just Jacob and I. So hopefully you guys don't throw us out of here. So let's go ahead and get started.
All right, let's do it.
So we're going to dive into this thing, where we ask the question 2 weeks after you retire, and this is a retiree asking that question. 2 weeks after you retire, where's your paycheck coming from? Before we sort of get into some of the things that I know we're going to talk about, I want you to help me help the audience understand something that we call the retirement reality income gap.
Yeah, so I think what that is the difference for what retirees expect they're going to get in retirement for retirement income, and then the amount that they actually receive. Most times it's a difference, and that difference is on the negative side. It's less. They're getting less than what they're expecting. So that's where that income gap comes into play.
Okay. So how do you, like when I say, because I oftentimes, I'll think about it in terms of the person that says I've saved enough, so I'm good, right? Like, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times, yeah, because everyone has in their mind, hey, I'm working towards a goal. I'm working towards saving X amount of dollars, but you got to put that into practice. Then you got to utilize. You got to turn that lump sum amount, that amount you've saved up, into a cash flow amount, and that's where the paycheck conversation you mentioned. Everyone, is when they're in their working years, they gain that paycheck every couple of weeks. For most people, it's every other week or 2 times a month, and it needs to transition to that type of manner in retirement as well. So to your point, how are you going to turn that lump sum into a paycheck that you can live on in retirement?
And then that lump sum comes with risk, right? Like, we've talked about different types of risk. We've done the examples of climbing mountains with, maps and, all those other things. By the way, if you haven't seen those episodes, go ahead and look back. You'll understand what I'm talking about, the whole climbing the mountain in retirement. But there's risk involved. Like talk about the risks that are involved when we're thinking about this cash flow event that retirement actually is.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we like to keep things in groups of 3, but for this I wrote down actually 5 different things that come to mind that lead towards this income gap in retirement. The first one is overestimating your retirement savings, thinking, hey, I've worked and I've saved up this amount. Maybe it's $1 million or $2 or $3 million, whatever that number may be. I've saved up this amount for retirement, but depending on what they want their lifestyle to look like in retirement, that might not be enough. So they've overestimated, what their retirement savings are going to be.
Right. And then you said you had a couple more?
Yeah, so another one of them is, we'll call it undersaving during the working years. We talked a couple episodes ago, we talked about working to save for retirement, and you and I have different philosophies on what that number can be. I say it's 25%, which counts everything, the employer match and everything you're saving for retirement, and the number that you kind of mentioned is not including the employer match. But so whatever that is, right, that people are saving for retirement. But
whatever it is, they've undersaved.
They undersave. For a lot of people, they may be undersaving for retirement. They haven't talked to a financial professional in a while, so they because of a variety of factors, they might not be saving enough for retirement. So when they get to retirement, it's not enough to help maintain that lifestyle that they were expecting in retirement.
And then anything else? Because I'm trying to think of a couple of examples.
Yeah, a few of the ones that come to mind, we talked about, and you kind of hinted out, market volatility. I know we talked about sequence of return risk, that down market, especially in the early years of retirement. If you have that down market right away, how that sequence of return risk is going to impact if you're pulling out an amount out of your retirement savings on a consistent basis. Factors like inflation. We just got through a pretty strong inflation period where the cost of a lot of things were increasing from what it was the past few years. So high inflation could impact your retirement savings. We got increasing costs. The one that comes to mind is healthcare. Those increasing costs can also erode retirement savings a lot quicker than what you may have planned.
Right. So at the end of the day, it's that for whatever reason, I didn't save enough, I spend too much, sort of these external factors.
We got economic environment, market volatility,
Right.
inflation. We got increasing costs, longevity. People are living longer.
People live longer.
So now you have to plan for a longer retirement. If you're retiring at 60 or 65, you may need to plan for retirement that lasts 25 or 30 years.
Right.
And then I think the one thing that comes to mind too, and if we had Keely Joe right beside us here, we'd have to explain this a little bit more, but it's the decline of pensions. And if Keely Joe was right here, she'd be saying, what's a pension? Because for the younger generation, pensions aren't as common as what they were in the past. There's fewer employees that have pensions out there. That's, so it's shifting that burden of retirement savings to individuals.
Right. So we've defined the problem, and that's that retirement income reality gap or reality income gap. The words are interchangeable. So we've defined the problem. Now, so let's talk about some solutions. And I'm not going to bury the lead here for the audience. When I talk about in relation to retirement, I want to talk specifically about the importance of guaranteed income, because that's what we're talking about when we talk about how do we help alleviate and answer the question of where my paycheck's coming from. We're using guaranteed income.
And I think we'll say some level of guaranteed income.
Okay.
Do you need all your income in retirement to come from guaranteed income? Probably not. But having some level of your income in retirement being guaranteed may make a lot of sense.
So then why is that so important? Why is guaranteed income so important? Why make a whole episode about guaranteed income?
Yeah, I think, when we've kind of touched on it, I mean, we're on episode, 12 right now, I think, at this point, something like that. We're definitely over 10. We're hitting
editor's note, if that's incorrect, that's not my fault.
I think everyone kind of giving me the thumbs up that we're on 12 here. So, but, we talk a lot about behavioral and mindset and having some level of income guaranteed. When you hit retirement, those expenses don't go away. Troy, do you think your phone bill is going to go away in retirement, or your electric or gas bill or water bill or food and groceries? All of that's going to continue. You're going to have to pull out income for basic living expenses to cover those essential needs in retirement. So having some level of guaranteed income to help cover those expenses just helps with that mindset of knowing where those dollars are going to come from. It's that peace of mind in retirement to do what you want, when you want, how you want in retirement, to have that flexibility and control. So that way you can have your retirement years be what you want them to be.
So you could actually retire away from something, and then ideally you're retired to something as well. I would go probably a step further, not a step further, just different. I think one of the other sort of unintended aspects, or one of the unintended things that happens when you have, in your words, some level of guaranteed income. I think about planning for a couple. We're going to talk a little bit about pensions, because we probably should explain. It's probably not just Keely Joe, and she's going to get so mad at us picking on her, by the way. But
hey, that's what you get when you're not in the room for the session.
So I think there's I think, for instance, planning for couples, when you can plan over the lifetimes of two people in retirement, that has value. That, in your words, it brings a peace of mind. I think when you can like having guaranteed income, there's a sense of being able to do like you're freed up to do
it's that
other
certainty,
stuff.
you have more of a, we talk about this on the life insurance side as well, that more of that permission slip. You have that ability to be comfortable with spending some of those dollars in retirement. I mean, and we've talked about this with the mountain. You spend so much time building up the accumulate,
Right.
building, but then you get hesitant to spend it. That having some guaranteed income gives you that ability to spend dollars in retirement.
So I feel obligated to like Jacob said, permission slip. And so we have this concept that we talk about quite a bit, which is the permission. The retiree oftentimes has to give themselves permission to spend and enjoy the dollars that they've accumulated, that they've spent those 35 or 40 years to accumulate. We oftentimes talk about the permission slip with life insurance because it's about like when you talk to some retirees, actually a lot of retirees, it's I want to retire, I want to enjoy it, but I love my kids, I love a favorite charity, I love my community, that I'd like to leave a legacy. If given the option, I'll not spend as much to be able to leave a legacy. And so the permission slip is giving that retiree permission, i.e., I have life insurance that I know can go to whoever I want to go to, so I can spend those dollars. And you're saying guaranteed income fits in that permission slip bucket, if you will.
You get some guaranteed income that are going to help with some of those basic essential living expenses, and now hey, because I have these expenses covered, I don't have to dip into my other retirement savings to cover this. I can go and spend those dollars, and I'm sure we're going to say this a lot over the next 15, 20 minutes, enjoy retirement. I mean, that should be the goal, right? Mm-hmm. You want to be able to not just retire, but actually enjoy your retirement doing what you want.
Not retire away from you just don't want to retire away from something. Like I'm retiring because it's either someone told me I had to, or I just can't take it anymore.
Yeah, I hit the age, I'm drawing Social Security, Medicare, whatever it may be, but actually being able to enjoy retirement. I mean, that's why people have been accumulating, and saving during their working years to get to the stage to actually do something that they want to do in retirement.
Okay, so you just mentioned something that we should probably now get into. When we think about guaranteed income, yep. You've said Social Security. You just mentioned Social Security. You've mentioned pensions previously. So talk to me about some of the vehicles that people should be thinking about, or that's likely to factor in to retiring with some level of guaranteed income.
Yeah, I think the first, really the three, I'll say three. I'm sure there's more that come to mind to you, and there's probably more that come to mind to our listeners as well too. But the three that really come to mind for today's conversation is Social Security, pensions, defined benefit plans, as well as annuities. And we'll describe all three, so I'm not going to have to throw something in the jar. I was
going to say, we're down the road pretty far, and we haven't even...
Well, we don't have that third person telling us to throw stuff in, so we might make it through this whole one without having to throw it in, because I'm probably not going to force you to put any in, because I know it's going to come back my way too. But no, those Social Security, pensions, and annuities are the three that really come to mind for some level of guaranteed income. So obviously, I think, do we want to touch on Social Security a little bit first?
I think a lot of people will all have an understanding. If you've worked your 40 quarters, then you have Social Security.
And what this and the reason for that, this is, you see this is typically the most recognized form of guaranteed income for retirees for some amount. It's providing that monthly benefit for life. It does get indexed for inflation. And nearly, you see the stats out there that nearly every retiree expects to rely on it at some level for that foundational level of an income stream in retirement. So, Social Security, and I was looking at the Social Security website this morning because I like looking at, stats and numbers and things.
Because who doesn't?
Yeah, I'm eating my breakfast. Who doesn't go to the Social Security website to take a look and see what's going on? It's either that or ESPN. And
let's say Huskers won. Let's go watch the SSA.gov.
But typically, and it said, hey, as of January 2025, it mentioned the average monthly income is around $2,000 a month. Now, that does change over time. It's, could be a little bit less or a little bit more, but right, they mentioned on average about $2,000 a month that people receive from Social Security. So it's not a large amount, but it's that baseline level that most people expect to receive some amount from Social Security.
But large becomes relative because we know there are some folks out there that Social Security is I mean, it used to be part. Years and years ago. It was there was always the mention of the three-legged stool, like savings. It was like savings, pensions, and Social Security, right? And we can get into the history of pensions and the rise of the almost got me. Rise of the 401k, which is kind of...
I don't think I've heard of that phrase before.
Yeah. Nope. I was going to say defined contribution plan, and then I would have definitely had to throw it in. But editors know I didn't say defined contribution plan. I said 401k. But the rise of the 401k sort of changed that three-legged stool. So that's neither here nor there. But Social Security, most people have some idea of... There's a level.
They're expecting some amount, and like you said, for those that maybe haven't done as much planning, using 401ks, IRAs, other vehicles for retirement savings, they're planning on that covering
a larger portion
amount
of what retirement is going to be for them.
There could be some concerns because you take a look and you see the headlines in the articles all the time that there's projected, and we'll call it projected, benefit reductions that are possible. We'll say possible, not expected, but projected benefit reductions that are projected by 2035 in less than 10 years, and you see the numbers that it could be up to a 23% reduction. So if they're getting $2,000 a month, 23% reduction off that, and that was the largest amount that they're planning to save for retirement, that's going to impact what their retirement is going to look like. So you can't just plan for Social Security and nothing else. That has to be part of the plan, but there has to be other things that you utilize as well for that guaranteed income.
And we've talked about some of those things, again, going back to some of our earlier episodes where we talked defined benefit plans, right? That was with when we had Tom Backrack on, and I did an episode or two with him, and we talked defined benefit plans, and those are pensions. Those are your it's probably for me it's my grandmother's it's your grandmother's sort of retirement, your grandmother and grandfather's retirement, where it's you stayed at a company, you worked for so many years, and they said, hey, if you stay, you get this amount. And that's what you're guaranteed to get. Yeah. And you got a gold watch, a pat on the back, maybe a party, and you got guaranteed income.
You got that guaranteed income monthly. Maybe it's for just you or you and your spouse, so you have that some level of guaranteed income. However, what we see, I mean, we talk with our financial professionals on a daily basis. Pensions are less common these days. I mean, they're still out there. You still see them with governments and unions and firefighters and police officers and teachers, potential unionized employees. There's still, occupations out there that have access to pensions, but not as much as in the past. I mean, it's shifted from defined benefit to defined contribution.
401ks, 403bs.
So now more of the onus is on the employee to save for retirement instead of the employer giving them a guaranteed income.
And not just save. Take it a step further. It's not just save for retirement. You don't have that. I mean, that's a risk in and of itself, and that goes back to what you talked about earlier. Is I undersaved for it. It's not just save for retirement. It's manage the risk.
Oh, it's invest.
It's the investing piece. It's having an understanding of secrets of returns and what that means and how I invest, and it's all those things that now are placed squarely on the employee, the retiree, to manage those things that pensions previously pensions alleviated. I work, I get this benefit. I work long enough, I get this benefit, and it's guaranteed.
So then it's to the point, okay, pensions aren't available for as many employees, occupations, jobs as there were. Now it's the defined contribution. Now employees are working towards, okay, instead of having that defined benefit, I have these defined contributions. I'm saving towards my retirement. I'm building up this bucket of money, this lump sum amount, like you mentioned, but how do I turn that into some level of guaranteed income with some portion of this? And I guess this is probably a good point to preface. Hey, this is, like always, this is just conversation. This is not advice, because each person's situation is a little bit different. And so, what retirement looks like for you looks different for me, looks different from our listeners. So this is just some general information on, as you're thinking to save for retirement, whether you have 20 years of retirement or 10 years, or you're getting ready to retire, you're 5 years into retirement, here's just some general information to consider. And so one way, we've talked Social Security, we talked pensions, we know, Social Security is a very limited amount. Pensions aren't as common. Well, the third way that we've talked about of how to get some guaranteed income in retirement is through the use of annuity products. And, and I guess I'll kind of pause there to kind of let you kind of talk.
No, I was going to say, no, just continue, because spoiler alert, we work for an insurance company, and an insurance company has annuity products. We're not giving specific advice. We're not recommending a specific annuity, but the idea of an annuity, I'm one of those people that I believe the idea of annuity, when we talk about the idea of all the reasons why we think guaranteed income is so important, is sort of the main reasons that whatever retirement looks like, the idea of setting up guaranteed income using an annuity, especially when other avenues aren't as plentiful, makes a ton of sense to me.
I'm going to pause right here. I'm going to throw one into the jar for us. I said the word annuity once. You said it. We'll go 6 or 8 or 10 times. But I'll throw it in to cover your half dozen or dozen. So what is an annuity contract? I'll kind of take the description there for us. So for our listeners who may not know what, I better start saying the word annuity, otherwise I'll have to keep throwing it in. But before I actually give the description, but no, what that is. So that's a contract with an insurance company where you, as the individual, pay money, premiums into a policy. Could be a lump sum, could be some ongoing contribution, in exchange for a stream of future payments, and this is typically for retirement income. Now, during the accumulation phase, the annuity, those dollars in the annuity grow tax deferred. And then during the distribution phase, those payments come out, and it could be for a period of time. Maybe it's structured so it's guaranteed income for life of you and your spouse. But then those dollars come out, and then those dollars are typically taxable to some extent, depending on if it's a qualified or non-qualified account.
So this is a rare occasion. I'm actually going to translate that for you. It's a contract in which money goes in, and money can come back out on a guaranteed basis over a specific period of time, and that specific period of time could be the life of one person or over the life of two people.
I think you did go. Hey, what's our motto? We make the complex simple.
Thank you.
You got to start with the complex to make it simple.
Okay.
So
I'll remember that when you give the next time. Like, I'm defining some esoteric law term. So you got to start. And you're looking at me like, really?
You got to start with doing the complex description. So right. I took one for the table here.
You took one for the team. Yeah. All right. So we believe, like, I'll just say I believe the highest and best use of an annuity is the creation of guaranteed income. That income that when you're doing your planning, whatever level that is, and by the way, when I say the creation of guaranteed income, I don't mean take your entire nest egg and put it.
No, we talked about this before. Should I do? I think we talked about this with Roth accounts. A couple episodes back. Should I do everything as Roth as all tax free? It's not all or nothing. Yeah. It's it's a complement. It's doing part, and what part is going to vary depending on each person's situation. But having some level of guaranteed income.
But the idea is that we have the ability to create guaranteed income, like we saw when pensions were more plentiful.
There's tools out there to accomplish that need, that concern, and we had our guy climbing up the mountain with his backpack. He's at the top of the mountain. That annuity tool helps provide some guarantee on the way down, instead of having to Well, I think I will try to bring the
that's that. We've used that.
Instead of climbing the rocky path down, wouldn't you like the smoother ride?
Smoother ride
down with and being able a little bit more peace of mind.
Maybe he's not taking the lift down, but it's a smoother ride.
Yeah, it's a little bit more peaceful. Can enjoy the scenery a little bit more.
All right, so last question. If you had to leave the audience with something today, thoughts on the question. 2 weeks after you retire, where's your paycheck coming from? What would be your suggestion to our audience?
Yeah, I think the main thing is, saving for retirement is not just a savings goal problem. It's a cash flow problem.
Say that 3 times fast.
I'll get those words out, I promise. Cash flow problem too. It's needing to know where those dollars are going to come from to pay those expenses. And just because your paycheck from an employer may stop when you hit retirement, those bills don't. You have to have some type of plan in place. And the sooner you can plan for that, the more flexibility you're going to have. And it just provides that peace of mind. We said it before. We said it a couple of different times, to enjoy retirement. Mm-hmm. Guaranteed income helps you be able to have that peace of mind to enjoy retirement.
And for me, it's just a simple sort of question to a simple question. Would you rather, and maybe someone falls, would you rather have a lump sum at retirement and have all the things that come along with that lump sum?
I feel like this is going to be another one that we're going to agree on here.
The management of it, the managing all the risk, managing investment, managing secrets of returns, managing tax inefficiency, managing all those things that come along with a lump sum, or and I'll just say a monthly amount that comes this month and next month, and it came the month before that, and it's going to come the month after that, over and over and over again until you pass away. Which one you want, right?
I say that lump sum, option A, door number 1, sounds impressive. Look how much I've built up for my retirement, but that peace of mind, being able to know, like you said, it's some level of income is going to come in consistently and guaranteed for as long as you live or as long as you and your spouse lives. That mindset, being able to have that freedom and stability. I mean, that monthly income does sound pretty appealing.
Hey, we did it. It's Jacob and I today.
That's right.
Hopefully we didn't bore you. So yeah, I want to thank everyone for your time and attention. This is Future Focus, a financial strategies podcast. Thanks everyone, and be sure to hit that like and subscribe. Tune into our YouTube page, where we're going to ask you. We're going to have a listener segment. One of the things that we endeavor to do is we want to engage. So we're going to have a listener question segment that we're going to try to do every 5 to 10 episodes. So, episode 15, episode 20, and so on, and so on and so on and so on. We want to do a listener, question episode. So if you could, on this episode, go to the comments, submit your questions, and you may get those answered on a future episode of Future Focus. Thank you and have a great day.